All right, afternoon, guys. Welcome back to Project Jira. This is Rishabh here with another podcast, another video, and we're continuing on with the marathon for podcasting. It's a relief shelter for those without an abandoned home and without family or shelter. And we're here with some administrative stuff. So the next two videos, this one's going to be mostly covering some technical stuff, including some testing for repair using administrator command prompt over on Windows. We also have security restarts and reboots also backing up OBS Studio, so a lot of technical stuff. And then the next podcast or video that you're going to tune into, we're going to be diving back into the podcast. So we're going to be knocking off a bunch of distribution platforms and so on and so forth. Okay? So without further ado, let's dive into it. There's also some administrative stuff right here I got to take care of in terms of correspondence and emails. So we'll get to that in a moment. All right, so first things first, we have ourselves set to display. So the first thing you can see here is the administrator command prompt run as administrator. It says here Microsoft Windows version 10.0 whatever, and then C drive /Windows/system 32 SFC/scannow. So SFC/scannow is basically a system file checker command you can run for any Windows 10 or Windows 11, actually any Windows operating system. And what that allows you to do is to run a system repair, especially if it's crashed. And in this case, just about yesterday, I ran into some issues where the laptop crashed, and I was a little worried at the time because we had almost 400 browser tabs open, most of which are, I didn't want to lose it because we wanted to save it for the pieces of content that we wanted to discuss. As a result, I was a little bit worried, and then when I booted it back up, all the browser tabs are still here, so that's good news. But it does mean that, of course, more than likely there will be some files or registry keys that will have been scrambled up, as per usual, whenever you just suddenly shut down a computer without it probably going through the process. So there are several command prompts you can use. First of them, one of the commands is SFC/scannow. That's probably the most basic, most common one. The other one is DISM, or, well, I don't know what DISM stands for. That's fair. I don't know what DISM stands for, but it's an imaging system that allows you to repair basically all the files that have been corrupted. So you could probably use those two in tandem. You could use SFC first and then followed by DISM, or you could do DISM and then followed by SFC. There's another one that is very, very basic. It's called Chkdsk, so CHKDSK. And Chkdsk, what allows you to do is specifically isolate for each of the drives. You can do Chkdsk for this particular C drive or D drive or recovery drive or whatever drive you want, or you can do all of them. And that is by far the most basic recovery command prompt. So I believe I'm going to run all three of these when I get the chance. And I say when I get the chance because right now I definitely don't have the ability to do that. I have roughly 400 tabs open. And we really are trying to bulldoze through all this. It's been a very long 2 weeks. So we really want to get through all these podcasts so then we can sort of get back to a regular routine. But otherwise, once we do finish knocking down all the tabs and doing some reaction inception videos, by that point, we will be able to properly restart the computer. And when that does happen, you can see here, there is a system repair pending, which requires reboot to complete. Restart Windows and run SFC again. So I can't actually run the system command until I reboot the computer, and that's only going to happen a couple weeks down the road, or hopefully a couple days, but that's being very optimistic. It's very likely not going to be happening in the next couple of days. All right, next. So that's DISM, that's Chkdsk, that's SFC, and that's all related to command prompts. So that's all Windows 10. What else do we have? I'm going to switch scenes here. Wait. Before I do that, I just want to highlight down here at the very bottom. Here's another thing that's related to that we have to do when the computer does restart. It's anti-malware, antiviral software. We're not going to be able to update that either. This is a little bit risky, of course. So is not repairing Windows, to be honest. Allowing the SFC to not repair immediately is also a bit risky. But it's always a gamble, right? You got so many things going on at the same time. So we have down here the anti-malware software that's updated and also requires a reboot, a restart, it says. after 100%. I'm obviously not going to show the case to window. I don't think it's a smart idea to reveal necessarily what particular antiviral software or anti-malware software you're using. However, if you I think you can pretty much guess. There's all sorts of popular ones like Malwarebytes, Norton Antivirus, I don't know, Kaspersky. Choose your pick. Anyways, so moving on, we have another technical item here over the side. I'm going to put this away. So give me a second here and get a drink of water. And so let's give a 5-second pause right here. Okay, feel a little bit better with the drink of water. Okay, what we have now is a USB, and I have to be a little bit quiet because I tell people are eavesdropping a little bit. So we have a USB here, and this is for actually booting up and backing up some of the software for OBS Studio. So what I've done is had some new scenes, some new profiles added to the mix. What I'm going to do here is basically switch over to a different scene, and this is the backdrop scene, so then you can actually see what I'm holding here. And on the bottom right hand side now, you actually see a window. It's got the privacy graphic there. It is blocking some information because what we'll be talking about next is going to be some rather sensitive material. So over here we have a USB, and this is the one you can purchase for just about, let's see, 5 of these USBs from Walmart will cost you just $30, and each of these USB has 16 gigabytes. So it's plenty of space, lots of storage. And what you can do with this is, of course, I mean, you can do anything with it, right? But what I'm using it for is backing up the OBS Studio files, at least in partition, because it actually doesn't use all 16 gigabytes. I recognize that I don't have as many scenes as some of the other creators and other artists and other content creators will use. I'm only using for roughly about 1.5 gigabytes, I'm assuming. And that's because we only have roughly about 3 nested scenes plus another 5 actual scenes that we use for production and recording, which is what you see right now. Okay. On top of that, we also have on the side here a bunch of sources, at least 20 different sources for this. And we've added new ones, including such as the privacy graphic right here that has been expanded. We also added the variable graphic in the backdrop, if you can't see, right? So the chroma key, right? That's a beautiful backdrop right here. It's amazing. It looks great, but we did a lot of troubleshooting to make that work out. So there are some camera settings, the webcam settings. We also applied, the color, hue, and saturation settings. Those are the webcam settings itself, plus the chroma key, making all that work out. Having new imagery in the backdrop, that's very important. We've applied, obviously this one's a very different graphic than the one that we're used to typically, which is a traditional Chinese sort of like kung fu type of thing we usually got going down. But right now this one's from the live stream directly, and it's actually covering the LED lights behind the backdrop of the laptop. Alright, so there's some new graphics, some new images, some settings obviously to make everything work out all together really nicely. In addition to that, I can say that there's also the chat I can mention, of course, right now blending in with additive or subtractive mode. That's something that we have to also update onto the backup. And in addition to that, I think the biggest highlight here, in addition that you can actually see if I turn on and off this appreciation animation for, thanks to all my subscribers, thanks to all my supporters for tuning in, as well as supporting this project. And hopefully you guys are getting out of this, because otherwise, well, you wouldn't be attending, right? So that kind of stuff, all these assets here need to be backed up over on the new profile settings. Plus the fact that, of course, we have new integrations, right? Every time I turn on OBS Studio now, and I think there's an error, there's a little glitch. Again, we're talking about technical matters, a lot of technical shit right now. Gotta watch my language. Spotify, unfortunately, I think is going to censor me if I use any sort of cussing, which makes me feel a little bit tight in my chest because I actually want to be a little more expressive. But what I will say is that, there are, every time I turn on OBS Studio, right, the UCam from Cyberlink software application starts to run. And what that does is not only does it take up, I think it increases my laptop, I can see, by about at least 10 degrees Celsius. So it's quite taxing on the GPU or the CPU. I don't have a GPU, it's integrated, so it's only a single chip. It's just a laptop, right? This is not a desktop. It's not a particularly amazing machine. What I'm having here, it's honestly, I'm actually very happy and very grateful to see and know that the laptop's even running at this point with all this. What I usually expect the desktop to do, my laptop's running out pretty well on its own. Let's hope it continues that way. I have to make sure I take better care of it. That's for sure. But anyways, every time OBS starts up, so does the UCam software. And so that's something else that is integrated now into OBS Studio and that I've got to also back up. So all these settings, all these plugins, all these integrations, all these new graphics and images and need to be backed on this USB. Not only on this USB, but also if we switch over to display scene right now, we can also mention that there's actually another folder here on the side. And we also have to back it up there. So what is on this folder, one of these folders is basically the Seagate portable drive. I can't really show you that, obviously, because I'd have to pull it up. I also am a little bit worried because the cable of that wire tends to be a little bit malfunctioning. In other words, sometimes if I pull on it, it tends to disconnect from the laptop or from the device. This happens even when I'm at the library, when I'm outdoors at the library, working on, employment or finance or whatever it is, or volunteering or some stuff. It tends to disconnect anyway. So I wish I could show you guys, but just trust me when I say that the Seagate portable drive is amazing. You can get it from Best Buy for roughly about $150, and it's 5 terabytes. 5 terabytes of space. That's fucking amazing. And I said I wouldn't swear, but I'm swearing anyway, so whatever, man. It's cool though. It's pretty insane, right? So that's the next thing. And the last thing we're going to cover here in terms of administrative stuff. I'm sorry there's so much to get through. We will get to the podcast in the next podcast. We'll get to the next podcast in the next podcast. A little bit of inception there. A little bit meta. So the next one here is an email. Okay, and this is email correspondence. I'm going to lower the volume a little bit here and say this for the community organization, the caseworker. And I'm basically having a list now, and he's gotten back to me with the municipality, so the government. And I have to be careful if it's in the backdrop. So what's happening is I have to provide a timeline of the events. So specific dates, right? Be specific and factual. So, the 16th or the 15th or the 11th, this and this happened, what were the parties, who, what, where, when, why. So all that kind of stuff. And you're just compiling a proper case. And so obviously that also puts into use this production graphic here on the side to block out anything. Again, this is a little tip and trick. Of course, you have multiple layers on OBS Studio and so on and so forth. All you have to do is just apply a graphic above the, let's say, the browser tab or the image that has confidential information that you don't want to show. So that's a little bit of a production thing as well. Also slightly technical in nature and again, fitting in here. All right, perfect. Last thing, also blessings. So I guess I'm somewhat of a weird amalgamation, not just Buddhist, but also Christian. So I have received some blessings so far, and I want to be grateful for that. So I'm just going to give about 10 seconds, a little bit of a prayer. So in 10 seconds of silence, pray to the Lord, bless, amen, for the food, for the positive relations I've had, and for the positive events. All right, so moving on, and also to find the strength and resilience to keep continuing pursuing forward. Again, all are welcome here if you're experiencing something similar. All right, so that's the wrap up for this technical video. It's only about 13 minutes, I recognize, and that's perfect because I really can't wait to knock off all the podcasts here, podcasting distribution platforms. Hopefully we can get through another 100 today because, and we're setting a real concrete deadline here, a concrete numerical figure, because previously I didn't set a figure. And the issue with that is if there's 490 different, research articles, 490 articles, that's a lot to get through. We'll never get through to this unless we actually set a concrete goal and deadline. So I'm definitely going to say every video, we're going to commit to knocking down at least 15 to 20 different tabs. And of course, we are knocking out at least 5 videos per day. So if we can do this, we can knock out 100 different distribution platforms or research articles or an amalgamation of social media and other technical behind the scenes stuff at the same time. Meanwhile, we can also capture the reaction series on the side. Although it's going to be a little bit, let's be honest, man, when we're doing the reaction videos, and you can see me just kind of loosen up right now, we should always be a little bit more upbeat when we're doing the reactions. And then when we're doing the technical stuff here, we should be a bit more serious. So naturally, there's going to be that kind of divide. And that's what we're looking forward to. So I'm going to stop this video. Thank you for tuning in. It's a very short one. Again, we keep it real, keep it running and keep it grounded in reality, because the project is focused on therapy and self-recovery and self-improvement and becoming stronger and all that kind of stuff. So it obviously involves finance, work, employment, business matters, relationships, and so on and so forth. And so the podcast is short because, once again, this is for you to listen to during the commute when you go to work and back from work, or when you're going outside and grabbing your groceries, or so on and so forth. All right. And of course, feel free to share your experiences inside here. If anything relatable, or you're just having feel free to just comment away. Okay. So thank you for tuning in. And the next video, we're going to just go ham on the podcast. Again, we're going to set the goal for 15 to 20 podcasts or articles per video. And let's get the ball rolling. Rishabh signing out. Peace out.